everybody, welcome to Beast Theory.
Woohoo!
Today's podcast, we're going to continue talking about my mission.
Okay, what's about?
Today we're going to talk about my second area. So at the last episode, we ended because me and my companion, I confessed that we went and saw a movie on my mission, which is like a big no-no.
They broke the rules.
So we both, I think we both got transferred out.
Trivial now. Like all of the things that I used to get in trouble for, I'm like, why was that a big deal?
Like kids saying but. Don't say but.
Yeah, or like throwing a snowball at school, or like, like the stuff that it was like, oh, you went to the principal's office. I'm like, I wasn't even a bad kid.
True.
And the stuff that I did, it was just like for fun and didn't have an evil reason behind it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But I can see why, as an adult, you want to make sure your kids are doing good things. So. And
I think, like, as a missionary, I'm like, man, what was the worst thing that I did? Like, listen to some music I shouldn't.
Did you?
Yeah. Same with companion.
Oh.
We're like,
all the bad things happen with that guy.
Because the rules at the time were like, well, you can listen to whatever, brings the spirit.
You're like, I feel the spirit.
So I'm like listening to Linkin Park.
Might not be the right one, but I feel the spirit.
So, or like sleeping in, oh no, I slept until 7 instead of 6:30. Like, when you think about like what you just said, It's not that big of a deal. But I think the reason why we make it out to be a bigger deal than it would otherwise be is just the fact that like we've committed to this higher standard of expectation. We agreed to that. Yeah. We promised we would do that and we didn't. Mm-hmm. And so there's consequences for that. Yeah. And so to the rest of the world. When you go
out, you make all those promises and you're really excited and like the people around you are excited. And it's like it only truly works really well, like a well-oiled machine, if everybody's doing their part. Mm-hmm. And like, so I can see why it would upset people around you if you're not doing what you said you were going to do, because then that means consequences for them sometimes. And
that's like when you're like, I just feel like I should stop eating sugar. Mm-hmm. Right? Like you've made this commitment to yourself, this promise to not eat sugars, and then when you eat a piece of cake or a little cookie or something, and you're like, and you like are racked with this guilt.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. Like to anyone else in the world, they're like, that's so dumb. You just had a cookie. To people looking at missionaries, that's so dumb. All you did was sleep in or go see a movie. Like big deal. It wasn't even a bad movie. Yeah. But to people that have made a commitment and a promise to not do something.
Well, and I think that actually brings up a really good point. Because, and I don't know if I should talk about this person, but I'll not say their name, but they were somebody who was they didn't want to drink, and they were, all of you guys would probably know who I'm talking about, but that's why I don't want to say. They were like not, they weren't an alcoholic, but they didn't want to drink, and they wanted to stop drinking, and they couldn't stop drinking. Like they were addicted to it, but they weren't an alcoholic.
Right.
And they're like, I know this is bad for me and I don't want to do it, but I love it so much, but I'm really having a hard time. So he like went to all these people, like, I need to, have addiction recovery. And they're like, what is it for? And he's like, alcohol. And they're like, okay, so you're drunk? And he's like, no. And they're like, well, then why are you here? And he's like, because I want to stop.
Even though he wasn't addicted.
But like everybody made it so trivial that he couldn't stop because it was like he didn't get the help that he wanted.
They weren't taking it as seriously as he wanted to take it.
Because for them, that wasn't a big deal.
It wasn't as extreme.
And actually,
interesting.
When I was, when I very, very first stopped eating sugar, it was like 6 years ago. Yeah, it was 6 years ago in August. So a little bit less than 6 years. Like when I finally made that decision, my family thought I was crazy almost. Like that's an exaggeration a little bit, but it felt like they thought I was crazy because every single time I said I'm not having sugar, they would go, why? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why is it that big of a deal? Just leave me alone. Let me try to have a good habit, like, let me try to do this. Why do you have to come back with such a, why? Anyways.
Well, because they're like, they don't want to be feeling guilty about eating sugar when they're around you. Yeah. And so by you not eating sugar, it's making them think, maybe I shouldn't eat sugar. Should I feel guilty for eating sugar?
And instead, like, they would make me feel guilty for not eating sugar. Like, if they didn't want to feel guilty for eating sugar, it's like they couldn't not say anything. They had to say something like defending themselves, even though I wasn't attacking them. All I was doing was changing my habit in front of them. Right. So it made it very difficult because it felt like I hit a wall every single time I had to explain myself.
Right.
And it was very frustrating.
It is frustrating.
And now I'm like really, oh my goodness. It's been almost 6 years and I am like really struggling not having sugar now.
It's been a constant struggle all 6 years.
Yeah, it has. But there were times where it was easier. It felt easier than like I would get into a groove. I don't feel like I'm in a groove right now. And that makes me very like I'm teetering on the edge and I don't like it.
I think it's a lot about just making a commitment mindset, right? Like deciding I'm not going to do it.
Yep.
Even so, and that's so after, that experience that I had on my mission and I got transferred, I was moved to South Jordan. I had a new companion. And at that point I was like full on gung ho, like
I'm not going to do it anymore.
No more.
Mistake.
I'm not going to do anything else bad. And we didn't listen to bad music. I didn't go see another movie. Like all the things that I did that I shouldn't have done, I didn't do anymore. But mostly because the potential that was gone, was removed. So it's not like I had the option to listen to bad music because I didn't have any. The opportunity to play a video game during lunch break was gone because I didn't have it.
So it was mostly the influence that your companion was having on you at the time. Like all the time, it's like if somebody was living with me that loved sugar and had it in front of me all the time, I would have a really hard time versus somebody who's like never buying sugar.
Right.
It's like, okay, whew.
It's nice when
and you weren't going out to instigate doing those things. It was just there already, so it was a lot harder to resist.
Right. And my companion, who I was with 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, was like, it's not bad. It's okay. We're still good missionaries.
It wears on you after a while.
Yeah. And so I had a new companion, and he was a really hard worker, really, really good guy, in South Jordan. So we were actually living in a member's basement at this place. And trying to think about like memorable things about that area. Like it was it was during the winter that I was here.
Okay, so is this your first winter in Utah?
This was my first.
What did you think?
I do remember.
Because he's a Florida boy.
Yeah.
And was used to that. Did you you saw snow before that?
A couple times, yeah.
Like, did you go to Vermont or something?
Yeah, I had gone on a snowboarding trip with Boy Scouts when I was in Young Men's.
Do you remember the first time you ever saw snow?
And
was it like, wow, it's like in the movies?
Yeah, I was a kid. I'm trying to remember, like, I think my family took a trip or something and we saw snow and it was just weird.
And for me, it was very weird going to Florida for the first time. And especially during Christmas, I was so homesick.
Because there's no snow.
There was like only in the rich area, some people bought fake snow. I remember seeing it, but in Windermere.
No way.
By the temple.
I don't remember
There was
that.
one house. I was like, they have fake snow. We were driving around. You probably weren't even with me.
When you
but
just
I was like, what? They have fake snow. That's ridiculous.
That's weird.
And it was just looked like their yard was covered in snow.
Well, I do know this. I didn't have like a jacket. I had like my missionary clothes, like my white shirt and tie. I had my like suit coat that I would wear that was just like for church, very formal, but I didn't have like anything warm to keep me warm. And so I remember me and my companion went on a P-Day. And a member went with us.
A P-Day, explain what that is. Did we already explain that?
I think I explained it last
Preparation day. It's just the day where
one day of the week.
Work hard and they go shopping and relax and
yeah, one day a week where we
laundry.
got to do all of our, like you said, shopping, laundry, that kind of stuff. And so this day, a member took us to a mall and we went looking for a big jacket. And I think I found one, and I can't remember if he bought it for me or not. That was a type of thing that happened a lot on my mission, is members would buy us stuff.
Aww.
My mom and dad might have sent me like $100 or something to buy a jacket. So I bought like this big ski jacket. And in fact, I actually have it today.
Go get it.
No.
Oh, why not?
I don't really want to. But I still have the jacket, like, to this day.
And he still uses it every winter. It was a good jacket.
It's a very good one.
In fact, when I met you, I thought, wow, he buys nice jackets. He buys nice coats. And for some reason in my family, I felt like I never had a good coat.
Yeah.
Like I was always cold.
I bought I'm pretty sure it was like a ski jacket.
And by the time I was old enough to buy my own coat, I only wanted cute ones to impress the boys.
Which is not necessarily the most practical.
Nope.
So I learned very quickly, like on my mission, because we didn't ride bikes and I didn't have a car in this area. We were walking a lot, at least when there was snow on the ground, that if I wasn't warm, like within the first 60 seconds of leaving our apartment, if I wasn't still warm, that I was going to get very cold. Like if I could even feel the cold, I learned I got to go put on more clothes because I'm going to be out here for a couple of hours walking with no relief. I better dang sure have layers and layers so that I am toasty warm or I will get bitterly cold.
There's a picture of Michael in the middle of winter with flip-flops. I think flip-flops and board shorts. So like surfing shorts or whatever, just
and
swim shorts and a t-shirt, using a broom to sweep the snow off of the porch where he was living. I was just like, this is the epitome of Michael.
Hey, that photo was staged.
No, it wasn't.
It was totally staged.
No.
If
he can get away with going out in the middle of winter just wearing shorts and flip-flops, he will.
That is true.
So to that extent, it was not staged. And you probably didn't have a shovel, so I bet that wasn't staged too. I know you just posed is what you're saying.
I did pose.
Okay.
But it was staged in that I wasn't already outside just walking around in my t-shirt and shorts. I was like, Elder, look, there's a whole bunch of snow outside. Let's go get this picture. And he's like, okay. And so he helped me go get the picture. And that was it. And we ran back inside because it was freezing.
But you still did sweep like most of the walkway because I saw the picture. I should find this picture so you guys can see it if you watch on YouTube.
You're not going to find the picture.
Oh, okay, fine.
I mean, you can if you want to. I'm not telling you can't. I'm just saying I know you and you're not going to do it.
I'm probably not going to take the time to go find that picture. Just imagine it in your head. It's worth it.
Oh, that's funny. So this is a good area. We taught a whole bunch of people. Man, like my mind is going blank now.
Skip to the next most interesting part of your mission that you can think of.
Like there's good stories in all the areas.
Well, here's the thing. It's your life. But like, I have to say, I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know if you guys have noticed, this is going to sound really rude. And I'm giving you a warning right now. So
I'm already offended.
Don't be offended. Here's my warning to you that it's going to sound rude. For some reason in my mind, whenever people talk about their missions, I zone out and I yawn and I think it's boring. But I realized the reason why, because I was like, why am I being so rude? I was thinking about it in the shower the other day. And I think it's because there's no romance.
Oh, you want to talk about romance?
That's just interesting to me.
All right.
So, like, thinking of 2 years where there's no romantic interest like going on, I'm like, boring.
All right. Okay. All right.
I love relationships and I love, like, I don't know. That's just interesting to me. So, I'm just being honest. It's not interesting to me when you talk about your mission.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Well, then fine. I'll give you some romance.
Okay.
I was not prepared for this.
What? What are you going to talk about?
Well, there was a girl in this area that fell in love with me.
Really? Okay, now it's getting interesting. I'm putting my yawns on the shelf. Saving them for later. Just kidding.
So on P-Day, we could like visit families.
Okay.
And hang out with people that we'd met from old areas or whatever.
I didn't even say it. You don't even know.
That's true. I have no.
Oh.
That didn't happen till the end.
Oh, I know. Wait. Let me see. What is their name?
I'm not going to tell you their name, but there was a family I hung out with a ton. No. Yeah.
I remember.
There's a family that we hung out with a whole bunch.
Me about this.
And they're a really cool family. They're really, really nice. They loved us missionaries and we come over and visit them. And it was it was nice having a family that we could go to that was excited to see you every time you came by.
It's like when you're homesick, you need a family to go to.
Exactly. Yeah. And so here was a family, and they had...
And by the way, during this time, I just have to stop.
Okay.
Only recently has our church changed the rules to make it so that missionaries can call home every week.
We can video chat every week.
Video chat every week.
Where economically possible, right? Like in some third world countries.
But like it used to be when he was on his mission that it was snail mail. So just sending letters in the mail.
Email.
And email.
I would do email on P-Day.
You never sent regular mail?
Like almost never.
Okay, so email. And you got to call home on Mother's Day and Christmas. Not even Father's Day.
Nope. Just Mother's Day and Christmas.
Mother's Day and Christmas. And that was it. That was it. So like there was definitely a longing or like a need to be around family, I think. And homesickness was a big
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name.
And they're always glad you came.
That's right.
Sing it the past song to get to me. Sing it and sleep.
So when
sing it where everybody knows your name.
So when you're a missionary and you're constantly knocking on doors and getting rejected, it's nice sometimes on P-Day when you're like, this is my one day to not think about work. To be able to just go and hang out with some cool family that make you feel loved and appreciated and welcome. Like
especially
loved. We would teach families and they would love us and we would become like part of their family. Like they loved us so much. And so we were really close to these people that we would teach.
There's a special place in my heart for those people that are able to just invite somebody into their home and treat them like family. Like, that's amazing.
There's still a certain level of professionalism as a missionary that you have to keep when you're at these families that you teach. Because you don't want them to see you slacking off or goofing off because it kind of, diminishes the value of what it is that you're doing. But when you're hanging out with members of the church and there's just a cool family... And it's like, they get it. It's kind of that safe place. There was this family, and they had a daughter that was a teenager, among other children. They had actually a son who was like exactly my age, who was less active in the church. Yeah. So it was kind of this like justification. Like, hey, and we had some really good like gospel conversations because of our visits.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I was just going to hang out and flirt with all the teenage girls or whatever.
Yeah.
But there would be some people that might accuse me of doing that. But my companions didn't argue. Yeah. Like they were cool with it too. And we were both appreciated and accepted by the whole family.
Yeah.
So there you go. And one of the girls, I could tell she liked me.
How could you tell? What did you do?
The look in your
Spill
eyes.
a tea.
I don't want to embarrass anybody.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say any names.
Well, you haven't said any names, and it's fine. They could not even listen to this. You don't know.
The point is, they're really, really good people. Yeah. And I didn't cross any lines. They didn't cross any lines.
Break any rules.
We didn't break any rules. It was just nice to be wanted and appreciated in a family setting.
Loved.
There's no scandal here. Sorry, dear.
Well, is it just me or okay, didn't that same girl send home a letter with you?
At the end of my mission, yeah.
Were you not in that same area anymore?
No, I was long gone.
How did she get that letter to you?
I kept in touch.
How do you keep in touch?
And actually, so this is like spoiler alert, at the very end of my mission, I did something I shouldn't do.
Well,
but it was like,
you were about to go home.
What are they going to do? Send me home? In my last like week or two, I think I said that way too often.
What are they going to do? Send me home.
And so it wasn't like anything horrible.
Yeah.
But like I remember, I think what I did was I was giving a talk in a church meeting on a Sunday church meeting in one of the wards that I was serving in at the very, very end of my mission. And I was like, this is kind of my like end of mission talk. This will be kind of fun. So I invited a whole bunch of people from old areas. I even invited my aunt and uncle. Like,
oh yeah, because they were in Utah.
In Utah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I definitely not something I would have done earlier in my mission.
Yeah.
Because I would have gotten in trouble.
Yeah.
But when it's my last Sunday and I'm leaving in 3 days.
See all these people.
I'm like, what are they going to do? Send me home? So
honestly, what is there really a rule against that? I don't think there should be a rule against that. Was there a rule against that?
Well, you're not supposed to like get in touch with family or whatever, or see family.
Oh yeah, but that was like your aunt and uncle,
right?
I don't know.
And I don't know. It's just,
and you're not. And the reason why? Why is the reason why you're not supposed to get in touch with family?
Why?
Because you get drunk, you want to go home.
Probably. I never got chunky, or I never got homesick.
Yeah.
I got chunky at the end of my mission, which is like,
I just want to go home. I'm so excited.
But I did extend my mission for a month.
That's cool.
But that's like, that was in my last area. We're skipping ahead all the way to the very end right now.
It's interesting.
You're like ready for it to be over, huh? Just skip ahead to the end.
Tell me all the romantic parts and skip ahead to the end.
You know, I guess we don't have to go too slow through my mission. We don't have to.
I think it's
everything.
One of those things. It's the same as, you have so much love for your child. You could easily film a 1-hour video of them picking up a toy and putting it down and giggling. But for someone else watching it, you have to edit out like most of it to make it interesting. That's what I think it's like.
So if I had to condense all 2 years into the next, 8 minutes, what are the highlights of my mission? I think there's definitely a couple of families that I taught that I think have a really special place in my heart.
Yeah.
And I think the reason is because these were like these were adults. A lot of the people that we taught on my mission were 9-year-old kids that hadn't gotten baptized when they were 8.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so because they were no longer 8 years old, they were technically a convert baptism and therefore had to be taught by the missionaries. So when you're 8, as a kid in the church, you just get baptized, you get interviewed by the bishop. It's like no big deal. But if you turn 9 and you didn't get baptized, you have to have the missionary lessons.
Yeah.
And so I think there was probably at least 20, 25 9-year-olds. But there were a few families that we taught where it was actually like the whole family was not a member of the church.
Yeah.
Most of the adults that we taught were like part member, where one of the spouses was a member of the church, probably less active in the church and wanting to get back into church, and the spouse that they married was not a member of the church. We had a lot of that too. But there was one family that I taught when I was living in Draper, where it was a part member family situation. The mom was a member and the husband was not a member at all. And he had some really good questions. And he was probably, maybe almost 40, when we taught him. And he just had some really good questions. And
I think I met them.
You did. We went to their ceiling.
In my mind, I was thinking 45, at almost 50.
Maybe.
But the thing is, back then I was a much younger person, so he's probably like 30, 39.
But they were really nice. They were really, really sweet people. And every single lesson, every single appointment, he had like really good questions. And it wasn't like a typical cookie cutter where we just taught the lessons and then they get baptized. It was like we came back over and over and over again, helping resolve every single question he had and concerns that he had. And like every lesson was like super spiritual, very uplifting and powerful experience. And then eventually he's like, yeah, I think I'm ready to get baptized. And it was very thoughtful.
I have to write something down.
Good experience.
You're giving me ideas of what I want to talk about in some of these future podcasts, because, there's things with our religion that I think a lot of people are like unsure about.
Sure.
Like polygamy or like the history of our church and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I feel like as we've been researching that, I've gotten some really good insights into it. So I want to talk about church history.
Okay. Cool.
We're just writing that down. Maybe we can film that.
That'd be fun. I like talking about that kind of stuff. I actually love talking about religious things.
Yeah. I mean, it's not something we typically want to force on anybody or that we like talk about a lot, just because I feel like our example sets a really good, I don't know, it's like better than words sometimes,
For sure.
But because this is where we get to talk our own life theories, like I also want to talk about the things we've been learning recently, and especially when it comes to church history, because that is a stumbling block for a lot of people that have either left the church or don't want to join the church because of things that have happened in the past with the church. So anyways, that's something I want to talk about.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think, having those discussions where we would read scriptures together and answer questions together, those are some of the best experiences. And so if maybe we can tackle some of those topics in a really fun way, it's almost like having a lesson. Yeah. To be able to resolve some concerns or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and that's without, again, not forcing anything on anybody. And you don't have to listen if you don't want to. But I really enjoy, like, some of my most fond moments as a teenager or as an adult have been when we've had the circumstance and the opportunity to, like, sit down with a lot of people who are all just wanting to talk religion. Mm-hmm. And to talk in depth and to talk about things that have, like, inspired them recently in our scriptures or things like that. Like, it's such a fulfilling and uplifting experience. And that's not something that is easily captured on video. Like, it's not, because it's not a super high edit or it's not interesting. Like, it's not that type of a experience, and so it's a lot harder to appreciate, I think, when you're not in person with someone. But that's why it's like, well, a podcast is a good place, so we should talk about that. I'd love to have a conversation. Like, I love those types of conversations,
There's a couple of really sad things too. There was another guy that I taught in the same area in Draper, and every lesson was like super, like, we'd answer all his questions, we'd help him understand things, and it was a very good lesson. But we taught him like almost every week, sometimes multiple times a week. And he was ready to get baptized. Like, he had a testimony, at least this is what he told us anyway. But he wouldn't get baptized. And he said it's because he knew that it would be too hard for his dad to see. And so he didn't want to break his dad's heart or upset his dad. And this is a grown man married with a kid, but he would never, he didn't want to do it until his dad died, because he didn't want to upset his father. Yeah. And so he never did get baptized. And that was really sad, to see somebody who needed the church, and could see the value in it. But
this is really interesting. That brings up a really good topic, because I feel like there are a lot of things that would help each of us, but we don't do them because of what other people will think.
Right.
That's true. Like, it's not good, because it's like keeping us chained. It's like keeping us down. And who knows, maybe his dad would have accepted it and been like, wow, you're stronger than me. Who knows? Right. Like, but because of those things, those preconceived notions of what we think other people will say or do, that holds us back.
Right. I do think a lot of times people make excuses too. Maybe their surface reason is because they don't want to upset a family member, but in all reality, there's a deeper issue that comes down to not believing it, or having reservations about one subject or another, but not wanting to address it.
And then what it comes right down to is, are we honest with ourselves and the people around us? Like, to a fault, like, and not to a fault, but I mean, like, sometimes, like, for instance, right now, I'm really having a hard time not eating sugar. Like, I'm struggling. I'm just really struggling with it right now. And I'm struggling with, I guess, figuring out what the deep root cause of it is. Because I know there is one. I know there's probably multiple things. And, like, just the other day, I was, like, so discouraged. And I was asking myself, what's the real problem? What am I so afraid of? what am I afraid of? Because there's fear in here somewhere and I don't know what it is. Like, why am I afraid? Like, what am I afraid of? Ugh. And where am I lying to myself? You know, like, am I lying to myself that this would be better to be able to use as a crutch sugar, you know, than to sacrifice for a little while and be all right? I don't know.
I don't know either.
This is another topic for another day.
So I want to tell another experience from my mission. I think I am going to just kind of summarize the rest of my mission in this podcast, which is fine. I mean, I'm sure that some of the other stories...
He could talk all day, every day about his mission.
I'm sure there will be other stories that come out later because they're applicable to the situation.
Yeah.
And like I said, I kept a journal every day, so the record's there. But in one area, I had a new missionary. So halfway through my mission, remember I mentioned I was a junior companion the whole first half of my mission. Well, my mission president swapped out. My new mission president came in, and I remember his first meeting with me, or one of the first, he said, why have you never been in a position of leadership? And I was like, I don't know. Why? I don't know. I'm a pretty great missionary, I think. Yeah, that's really stupid. I guess all the other leaders were dumb not to promote me to a leadership position. That's kind of my thought. I don't know if I mentioned or not what I had done in my first area, watching a movie and that kind of stuff. I don't know if I brought it up. But ultimately, he's like, that needs to change. And so I was like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready for more.
Yeah.
And so he made me a trainer.
Okay.
To a brand new missionary. And in my first area, I was in an area, and I'd just gotten done being with one of my favorite companions, Elder Robison.
Oh, yeah. He had no cartilage in his nose.
Right.
I remember that. I met him once, and he was like, pushing on his nose.
Yeah, kind of. But he was just a cool guy, so easy to get along with. Some of my companions were so easy to get along with. Other ones were really challenging to get along with. He was like literally flawless companionship. We were together 6 weeks, and I got a brand new missionary, Elder Brady, and he was from California, just brand new out.
Elder B.
No, that was Elder Stewart.
Oh.
He was my companion in South Jordan. We're not going to
tell that story.
Anyway, so I was with Elder Brady, and he was fine in Draper in our first area together, and I trained him. Everything was good. And then both of us got transferred together, which never happens, to a new area. We whitewashed together to a new area. Usually when a whitewash happens, they'll take one missionary from over here and another missionary from over here and put them together in a brand new area. That's what they call a whitewash. Well,
a whitewash is where nobody has previous experience. Neither one of the companions have previous experience in that area.
Exactly. So, but me and my companion stayed together from Draper to Taylorsville, and we whitewashed together in that area. And we were literally in an apartment building, and literally right across the hall was another Spanish missionary companionship. And I think that was the root of the problem, or it was a big part of the problem, because Elder Brady wanted to hang out and goof off with one of these Spanish missionaries, and that Spanish missionary was also really, really struggling at the time. And he also kind of wanted to just goof off and be lazy. And I remember so many times during lunch break, during dinner or whatever, him and that elder getting together and just messing around, even with their church missionary uniform, name tag, and they're out there goofing off, acting like idiots. I think one of the times they were pushing each other around in a shopping cart up and down the sidewalks of this apartment complex, just stupid things. If you saw missionaries doing, you're like, you guys aren't missionaries. You're just
what are you doing?
Punk teenage kids.
Yeah,
that's not being a good representative of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest frustration was he just didn't want to work.
Yeah.
And it progressively got worse and worse and worse. And near the end of that companionship, I reached out to my district leader or my zone leader, and I said, I can't get him to leave the apartment.
He just didn't want to leave the apartment.
Didn't want to leave.
Wow.
And he had an interesting story. He said before his mission, he had done a lot of bad things. He'd done a whole bunch of drugs. And, he was just kind of wasting away his life. And he decided if he didn't go on a mission, he was going to regret it. And so he quit doing all the bad things. He cleaned up his life. He repented. He went on his mission. And here he is on his mission with an attitude of, well, I'm here.
I did it.
I did it. I can say I did it. I won't regret that because at least I did it. But his heart wasn't in it. Mm-hmm. And that was really challenging for me because, here I am trying to be better. This is my first opportunity to show that I can be a senior companion and a good missionary leader. And my companion is just like being drugged the whole way and just like not wanting to do anything. And I'm like, what do I do? Is there anything I even can do? That was really hard because he didn't want to do companionship study. And so I think ultimately, we had a emergency. I don't think we had an emergency transfer, but I know I left that area. And immediately after that area, I was, I think that's when I went to, my last area. After that was when I went to West Jordan.
So you had how many different companions on your mission?
I had 2 in my first area, 2 in my second area. After Jordan.
How long?
South Jordan, I was there for 4.5 months.
Is it about 4.5 months for each?
Kearns was 4.5 months. South Jordan was 4.5 months. And then I went to Taylorsville, and I was with two companions there for 4.5 months. And then I went to Draper, and I was there for only 3 months with 2 companions. And then we went to Taylorsville together. Same companion, though. And then I left Taylorsville. That's when I went to West Jordan. And then in West Jordan, I had 2 companions. So I think I had 10 total.
What do you think how did it help you for the rest of your life? What did you learn from having companions?
Just, how to have hard conversations about things. I think, how to live with somebody. I think I changed a lot. I think that one of the biggest changes that I had on my mission was I shifted from being a very selfish, afraid teenager, where it was like, as a teenager and as a kid, you're like, everything's all about you, right? Like, if it didn't serve me, I didn't do it. Mm-hmm. And as a missionary, it's like all day, every day for 2 years, here I am trying to help other people learn about Jesus Christ and try to make changes in their life to overcome addiction and sin and repent and, understand faith in Christ and change their life and ultimately hopefully get them on the path that leads them back to Heavenly Father and a good, happy life. And so I'm like serving these people with their best interests in mind the whole time, to where by the end of my mission, I'm like a lot more selfless, I think. A lot more worried about...
I met you after your mission.
A lot more worried about other people and caring about other people and their well-being than just myself all the time. Mm-hmm. I can forget myself and just work and serve others. It doesn't bother me. And I think I don't even see that change happening. But now I look at my kids and I'm like, that's exactly how I was as a kid.
Yeah.
But that is not at all how I am today.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because I can really pinpoint my mission being the primary thing that took me from being childish and made me into a responsible, hardworking adult.
Yeah.
Because that was the pivot.
Like that. How was your last companion?
Elder Cyril.
I mean, should you put his name in here?
No one knows what his first name is. He was my most challenging companion.
I've heard so many stories.
I was with him forever.
Well, how long?
Oh, man.
But it was the same amount of time as your other ones, but it felt like
No, it was the longest.
Really?
Yeah, it was like 7 months. I'm pretty sure I was with him
horrible.
for like 4 transfers.
That is so... Were you like every transfer like, please, 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 and then it didn't happen?
Yes. So, and it's funny too, because I remember when they first, announced, because I had known him before, here I am. The last...
Did you hear things about him? Like, did you hear
I never heard
things
any bad
about
things.
Other companions before you got them as a companion?
No.
Okay.
Not generally. I was never in the popular groups of the mission field. I think at the end of my mission, I knew everybody, and everybody was younger than me at that point.
Yeah.
And so I was like this old dog. And I think just being a senior missionary, like an older missionary, other elders just respect you.
Yeah.
And look up to you. And, you know, there was nothing I was afraid of. There was nothing I couldn't teach. I had gotten to a point where people couldn't critique my, you know, role plays because I was already perfect and flawless.
You're amazing.
And I would actively like tell me what I can do to change, and I can't. Like nobody could identify anything because they're all like, "Man, he's way better than me." I can't say anything. Anyway, so Elder Cyril and I, we'd had a few interactions before because he was maybe a companion to somebody else that was in my zone or my district. So we'd hung out during zone activities or P days, maybe played some board games or whatever. And there's a lot of people that I can get along with really, really well, as long as I'm not with them 24/7. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you put someone with you 24/7, it really becomes like I don't know if I can even stand this person. Like I can handle them every now and then, but definitely not 24/7.
How do you feel about me?
I love being around you 24/7. And I'm not just saying that.
Here's your $20.
I really do. I wouldn't opt in for this program. I didn't get to choose that companion. Oh man, it was really challenging. So
what? Okay, just describe his personality.
He was awkward.
Okay.
Around people. It
didn't come naturally to him to do things
very socially awkward.
Okay.
And he was also kind of getting on near the tail end of his mission. Like he wasn't much younger in the mission field than I was. And
he never was senior companion, right?
I don't think he ever was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he ever was. But it's no surprise, honestly.
Yeah.
If you get to know him. We had fun times. Like I'm able to get along with most people. I feel like I'm pretty easygoing. But there were definitely times it was interesting. Sometimes I'd go on exchanges where I would get split off with another missionary, like maybe my district leader, and then my companion would go with the other district leader's companion or whatever. They go on splits or exchanges. It gives you a chance to, look at each other's areas, look at each other's teaching styles, maybe make some critiques so we can improve. Mm-hmm. Anytime I would be with a different missionary in my area and we were teaching someone, they would usually pull me aside and be like, Elder Beach, what's the deal with Elder Cyril? Like, what, And so I was like, okay, I'm not the only one,
You're okay, I'm not just a jerk.
Yeah, I'm not just a jerk who's, rude to my companion. Like he actually had some real social issues that other people were picking up on. I remember we were, eating dinner at this family and they had a little kid who was like playing on the floor with a toy. And I remember he was like trying to, you want to build rapport with people. And I think he was trying to play with this kid to kind of build rapport with this family. And he's like taking away the kid's toy and kind of laughing about it. And like,
Was the kid crying?
And the kid was like bothered by it, and you got to know, like, if the kid's bothered, well, don't do that. Okay, fine. Some kids might think that's funny. Other kids don't. This kid didn't. He couldn't tell the difference. And so he was laughing about this kid being bothered by it.
And here you are like, I'm sorry.
And I was just
apologizing for him.
Elder, stop, please. Like, just, can't you see that this is so, like, you're bothering this family because you're torturing their child right in front of them. And he's just like, just stuff like that. But it was consistent stuff. It happened over and over and over again, to the point where it was like, man, this is really obnoxious. And I remember trying to talk to him about it, and he had a hard time hearing any critique like that. He just didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to be made to feel dumb or made to feel, awkward. So I asked my mission president if there was a chance that I could get a different companion. He's like, Elder Beach, I can't remember what he said, but it was something along the lines of like, he's good for you, or you're good for him. Like it's It's good that you guys are it's a good match. I think if there was any chance of me getting a different companion, I sealed my fate when I asked that question. Because it became one of you're having a trouble with your companion, eh?
Work
Perfect.
It out.
I'm going to keep you together for the remainder of your mission because obviously...
Is that your biggest regret? Would you have changed that?
No.
Ask that question?
Looking back, it's like... pish posh, I can just forget about it.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it was like...
devastating.
I can't stand this guy. Like, he was so hard to be around. And so many times we'd be teaching people, or we'd be tracting, knocking doors, and we'd be talking to people, and he would say the things that just were like, why did you say that?
Like rub people the wrong way.
Yeah. Like, why did you say it like that? Here's the craziest thing about it all, though. Looking back now, it's all said and done. Out of all my companionships, out of my entire mission, I was the most successful when I was with him.
Your mission president was right.
In terms of like baptism, like missionary success, like teaching people and having baptisms.
Maybe they listened to you better because he was there. Like, you know how sometimes it's easy to dismiss people if there's two people that are speaking. You know what I mean? Like, if there's somebody who's being crazy, you kind of ignore the crazy person and listen to the sane person more, versus if they were just two sane people.
I don't know if it's because I was a better missionary at the end of my mission, and so I was able to teach better, or if it was because through that trial, Heavenly Father blessed us with more success and more baptisms because of it. Even though here I am with this person who's like really hard to get along with and really socially awkward, and yet we had a tremendous success in terms of baptisms and, bringing people into the church. Like, yeah, it's hard to say, but I'm just really grateful that I didn't see a huge dip at the end of my mission. But I was...
You ended on a high note.
I ended on a high note. I ended sprinting to the very end.
Yeah.
And that was
trying to get away from your companion.
Well, you know what? In all honesty, I extended my mission. I got to push out my mission deadline for an entire month.
So if you were really having that hard of a time, you wouldn't have extended it.
I was just loving it. I was loving being a missionary. This is like my favorite thing. And it didn't matter that my companion wasn't perfect. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be a missionary as long as possible.
See, I'm grateful for that companion because
he prepared me for you.
Yep. For all the worst in me, he's ready for it. He's done it before.
That's funny.
But in all seriousness, I do think that's what a mission teaches you in a lot of ways. Like how to live when somebody's at their best and how to live with somebody when they're at their worst, and
how to serve others instead of being selfish.
Yeah. Like how to just learn to be happy regardless. How to progress forward even when it's hard. Like even when it's not the most ideal circumstance. And the thing is, in every marriage, at any given point, there's highs and lows and struggles and peaks and valleys, and it's always going to be in part of that. So it's just cool that I really think your mission prepared you for our marriage in so many ways.
I think so. I definitely think so. And there's one other experience I want to share before we wrap up. That's one of the most memorable to me. At one point in my mission, right around, I think I was in Draper, so I was about halfway through my mission. Maybe I was in South Jordan right before I got sent to Draper. I actually went from South Jordan to Taylorsville and then to Draper. So no, yeah, this was in Draper. I was teaching a kid in a member's home, and this guy was probably our age. He's probably 20. I say kid, he was 20. And he was dating this girl, and they were really serious. But he came from a family of polygamists. And when you're a polygamist in Utah and you want to get baptized into the church, in order to even get baptized, you have to have an interview with an apostle, which is crazy. and you have to go through it's like this whole big ordeal.
That's crazy, only because like there's like bishops who are who are like in charge of a ward, and every member is like in a ward.
And there's like 300 members.
And then above a bishop, there's like a stake president, and then above that, there's like a
area president or a district president.
And then above that, there's like
and then the apostles. There's only 12 apostles in the whole church, and so
or 70. There's the 70,
right?
And then the apostles.
Area 70, and then the apostles. So anyway, the apostles are a pretty big deal. And there's only 12 in the whole church, in the whole world.
At any given point.
And so to meet with one of them is like pretty cool. I mean, most members of the church go their whole life and never even meet one apostle. And so to be able to get interviewed by an apostle. Anyway, so we were teaching this guy, and we'd been teaching him for a couple weeks. And he still wasn't quite sure. And so we did what we call a pray now, which is where everybody in the group kneels down on the floor, and we each take turns saying a prayer, asking if the church is true, if they should get baptized or not. And so we all knelt down, and we each took turns saying a prayer to ask for the Spirit to confirm the truth. And at the end of the experience, everyone was just kind of quiet, and, he felt really good about it, and ultimately decided that he wanted to progress and do what it took to become baptized. Well, shortly after that event, I was transferred from the area, and I kind of forgot about, typically when I would get transferred, I would forget about all those people that I'd been teaching and focus on my new area and let whoever was taking over after I left, do their job. I typically didn't get super attached to the people that I kept in contact with them after I left. While I was in the area, they were very special to me. But after I left, I needed to focus on this new area. And so I kind of forgot about them a little bit. Well, near the end of my mission, I got a message from somebody saying, "Oh, did you ever teach so-and-so?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did. I taught him quite a bit, actually." And they were like, "Oh, he's getting baptized." And I'm like, "No way, that's so awesome." And they're like, "Yeah, you should come." So because our mission was so small, if a member or if somebody in an old area was getting baptized, typically we could make arrangements to be able to attend their baptism. Cool. So I got to go, leave my area and go to his baptism. And it was like the room was packed. Like there was tons of people.
That gives me chills.
Yeah. And so I'm just like one of all these people in this room kind of sitting in the back. He probably doesn't even remember me. I was just one of the many, many missionaries that got a chance to teach him. And his girlfriend got up during the baptism, meeting. And she said she kind of was sharing her testimony of the church and her, the experience that she got because she got to be a part of her boyfriend's being taught by the missionaries and journey to getting baptized. And she shared an experience that really, really touched her of a time when about a year back, she had sat down with the missionaries and everybody knelt down.
Did the pray now.
And she shared that was like a really, really powerful moment in her life that really, really touched her and that she could never forget. And it was cool because she was talking to all these people and sharing the story, and I had been there during that.
Yeah.
And she didn't even remember me personally.
Yeah.
But she remembered that experience, and that's what mattered.
Mm-hmm.
Like to be able to leave that impression on someone. And honestly, I can't take credit because it was the Spirit that really made
an instrument.
I was just an instrument, in God's hands, changing people's lives. Just being that voice of the Spirit, that vessel. Because Heavenly Father wants to give His gospel to everyone. He wants to share His message of hope and happiness, and He needs missionaries. He needs people to be that voice for Him. To send the message to the world. And so I was just his mouthpiece and got to see some miracles happen that changed people's lives. And it wasn't me. I was just the instrument. And so anyway, that was one of my favorite experiences Definitely life-changing.
Other miracles?
There was actually a miracle, something really cool. I forgot about this, but I did want to share this. When I was in my last area, I was in West Jordan. I was teaching a family of a mom and all of her daughters. And one of the oldest daughter, she had a boyfriend. And he was kind of just a punk. He was, deadbeat or whatever, get drunk or whatever with his buddies. Well, while we were teaching them, one day I got a phone call from the oldest daughter, and she said, "Hey, my boyfriend, he got really, really drunk and he passed out and he vomited and inhaled some of the vomit. And now he's in the intensive care at the hospital. And I think he needs a blessing. Can you, missionaries, can you come meet us at the hospital and give him a blessing? Because I'm really worried about him recovering." And he'd been unconscious this whole time. And it'd been quite a while now. So we're like, yeah, of course, we'll come. And so we got ready to go, and we went to the hospital. And the minute that we walked into the room, he became conscious for the first time. Just us walking into the room. And I remember she was like shocked by that. She was like, "You guys, you missionaries, all you did was walk into the room, and now he's no longer unconscious." Like, that experience meant a lot to her.
Yeah.
And I'd say that was a miracle. And so we gave him a blessing, and, I know he made a full recovery or whatever, but that really touched her. Just, miracles of healing can happen, and God's power is infinite. And so for us to be able to just walk into the room and have someone become conscious for the first time after something like that, I think that's pretty cool. To be able to be a part of that experience. And like I said, it's not my power, it's God's power. But, as members of this church and as missionaries, we have authority from God to do his work and to be his servants and his workers. And so with that comes his power. And so it was not uncommon to see those types of things happen all the time.
I think it's interesting because I know a lot of people just on the world, in the world right now, think that, there's not God's power that is here anymore. Like, I know a lot of people will believe that there's not, it used to be here at one point, miracles used to happen maybe when Jesus was here, but now it doesn't happen. But what's interesting about that is there's been so many miracles that have happened in my life. There's been so many miracles that I've seen happen, in my parents' lives, and like, he's real. And things like, and I don't believe in putting a limit on God and saying, well, he used to be able to, but he can't anymore. Why? Why can't he? And what gives us the authority to say he can't? Like, I don't think that's accurate. And if you do believe there's a God, then why would you think that you know more than him? Like, he knows everything, and he has the ability and the power to do anything. So like, I don't get how, we can put limiting beliefs on him, like project that on him and say, no, God can't do that, or he can't do this. And I know a lot of it is like subconscious, even because like, as I pray, sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't ask for that. And then I'm like, wait, why can't I ask for that? The thing is, like, I could ask for anything. I can ask for anything. I think here's a good example. When I was a little kid, I wanted a bike really bad. And I was like, I want a bike. I'm going to pray for a bike. And I know if I have faith, I'm going to get a bike. So I prayed for a bike. And lo and behold, a few days later, there was a bike at a yard sale for like $1. And I asked my mom for $1 and I got a bike. And I was like, I got a bike! It's a miracle! And it was. And like, I just think that he wants us to be happy. I truly believe that. And I think that sometimes we think that our wants and desires are less than his godliness. Like, oh, he wouldn't care about that because that's like nothing compared to, problems he might have with all the people on the earth today or whatever, But the thing is, if he truly loves us, which I believe he does, and as I've just been a mother, I look at like my kids and I think they care about these silly little things, right? And because they care about them, I care about them because I want them to be happy and I want them to be able to feel fulfilled in their life. And, like any little thing, it's like, I think it's difficult for us to decide what's trivial and what's not. And that's why we need to not put limits on God, because for all we know, this thing that we put a tag on and say it's trivial, that could be the most important deciding factor in our life, and we just don't have the full picture. So like, that's why it's important to just like pray always and like ask him, because he knows everything. And we don't know if it's important to him or not. And we don't know, like, he knows that it's important to us though, and he loves us. So he's going to help us. And I think just the one thing that I have to remember is like, yes, you can ask for anything, but it has to also be God's will. Like if he's knows that that's the right thing for you too, you could literally ask for anything. And if it's the right thing, he will give it to you. Like, if you have faith and you trust him and it's also his plan, you can like start using your imagination and start praying and asking for whatever it is that you need or want. And like, I think you'll be surprised. And I have been surprised so many times thinking, oh, that was just a trivial thing, but he cared enough for it. He cared enough about me. He cared enough about the situation. And this might seem silly, but I have an example of it. And that was when my mom was pregnant with me. She was reading I think an article from our church, the Ensign or something, and somebody had prayed that their daughter would have red hair. And she got a daughter with red hair. And she was like, wow, that was what I wanted. That was what I needed. And I think it aligned well also with Heavenly Father's plan for that daughter, for that mom, But like, my mom was like, yeah, why can't I ask for a daughter that's beautiful, with straight hair and straight teeth, and just like, she basically described me, and she said a prayer that she would have a daughter like me. And then I came and she said I was exactly like what she had prayed for. And like, anything could have happened, right? But I believe that was a miracle. And like, with each of my kids, I know this is going to sound weird, but I did not want my first child to have brown hair. I heard that story about my mom doing that, and I specifically prayed for my son, who I knew was going to be a son, James. I prayed that he would have blonde hair like me, because I just wanted that, which now I'm thinking it probably was like a memory from the pre-existence, and it just felt right to me, because I didn't really have a reason why I wanted a baby with blonde hair. I just did so badly. And then he came and he had blonde hair, and it was the most adorable thing, and I've loved it ever since, and I just will never stop loving it. And I needed that, and I don't know why I needed that, but I needed that, and he like blessed me with that. And each child like after has given me something more that I've like needed in my life, and has been such a blessing to me. And I just like, they seem trivial. Like hair color seems trivial, or like the shape of their face might seem trivial, or their eye color might seem trivial, but like it means a lot to me. And I just feel like with each kid, he's blessed me with exactly what I needed right when I needed it. So I think that he truly does care about, like, even the littlest things that we might think aren't good enough for him to care about. But he does. Because he loves us and we care about them, you know? Anyways, I just want to share that.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening to Beach Theory today, guys.
Yeah.
To anyone who's still here, thank you for listening to this episode.
Yeah, thank you.
We've got more coming.
And if you made it to this point, let's make up a secret handshake so that if you see us in person, we'll know that you got to this point. Okay, the secret handshake is, you have to watch this on YouTube. It's this. What is this?
Oh.
This. One hand like this, one hand like this.
Oh.
And if you come up to us like this,
we'll know.
We'll know.
And with that, we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Beach Theory out.
Bye.